It was San Diego State's biggest comeback of the season. They were down 14 in the second half. They had the great defense to limit the offense, and really it was just their calling card is defense, and that's how they got back in the game and eventually won it.
That's how they got back in the game, and they relied on their defense late. I thought when they were down 3, had a timeout, they went to Jaden Ledee in the middle of the floor. And you think, no, they got to go to Matt Bradley, or they got to go to Darian Trammell or Lamont Buter. But they went to Ledee against Vlad Golden with 4 fouls. They cut it to 1. And then rather than foul and extend the game, Brian Dutchard said, no, we're a defensive team. That's what we do. They relied on their defense. And he asked them in the huddle, do you want to call timeout? And the players said no. And Brian Dutcher went with his players. He trusts his guys. And for Lamont Buter, when he took the ball down the left side, or the right side, excuse me, and took it down to the baseline, he thought he was done. I mean, he got stopped there, was defended well, and that one dribble pull-up, there was no panic. No fluster, nothing. I mean, that was a big-time shot. But what a comeback by San Diego State. I mean, that is a team full of men that do not get rattled.
The rebounding, free throw blockhead. I mean, they get back in the game. They extended possessions. They extended possessions by getting to the offensive glass, something we talked about earlier in the show. I mean, their ability to offensive rebound, miss free throws, and get extra possessions enabled them to cut into that lead. And the last play by Lamont Buter, I mean, he tried to turn the corner. They had a little bit of a back dribble, which enabled him to get to his left hand with that rhythm dribble. But rebounding the basketball, I mean, and then getting to the free throw line in the second half. Even though they didn't make free throws, getting to the free throw line, they took 19 free throws in the second half. They only took 3 in the first half. Getting to the free throw line enabled them to kind of get to the offensive glass in a lot of ways. To me, that was the biggest thing in this game.
Yeah, they're not at this point without Matt Bradley. Matt Bradley had struggled the entire NCAA tournament. You're like, man, he's such a good player. He's the leading scorer. At some point, he's got to get going, and he was huge in this game. And I think what I loved about it is he's had a tendency in his past to try to force himself offensively on the game. I thought he was immensely poised tonight, knocking down his 3-ball, getting in the lane, making plays, getting to the foul line. They wouldn't have been in position without the effort of Matt Bradley.
But how about San Diego State holding Florida Atlantic to 33% in the second half? I mean, Florida Atlantic was magnificent in the first half. I mean, they played a great game, and that's a fabulous team. But to hold them to 33%. In the second half. That was a great defensive effort to win that game by San Diego State.
We've talked a lot about veteran leadership, the poise, teams that don't get rattled. San Diego State is now 10-1, 2-0 in the tournament, in games decided by 5 points or fewer.
Wow. When you're a team that can rely on your defense to get you back in games, it puts you in position to be able to make plays late. And J.I., Lamont Buter, a junior, and I thought you said it perfectly, he was poised under pressure. How many times have we sat here throughout the college game day season and you, Seth, and I look at each other, he went too deep, lost the ball, and when he decided to go back to his left, that was a slight stunt at him, and usually that causes you to freeze a little bit. Didn't bother him, kept his hips low, got good elevation into the shot, knocked it down. I thought that was tremendous.
Close out games with defense. I mean, that's basically what they did. They close out games. Like we talked, who's their go-to guy? We would have thought it would have been Matt Bradley.
Yes.
Wasn't even in the game.
It went down to Ledee in the isolation, and then the ball was in Lamont Butler's hands at the end of the game. So we thought maybe Trammell, but no, it were those two guys. And maybe they do that by committee, but they close out games with rebounding and defense. You win a lot of close games. If you can get a stop when you need to get a stop, you're going to win a bunch of close games. If you can rebound the ball to the defensive end, you're going to win close games. And that's true to their identity.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to remember Lamont Butler's shot, and rightfully so. But I thought almost the most important sequence in the game, I think the score was 65-63. And San Diego State kept getting deflections. Florida Atlantic would have their hands on the ball on a rebound and get deflected and get loose. San Diego State got it again. They eventually tied it. I joked to you, said, well, at least Florida Atlantic gets the ball finally, after several times. And from that point forward, it seemed like the Owls were just trying to hang on, and San Diego State found its way into the national championship game. Not the same type of drama for UConn against Miami. Now, Miami made a couple of runs, made a run in the first half, but really there was not a lot of doubt about who the superior team was in this matchup.
Yeah, we talk about, look, Sanogo comes in and all he does is knocks down 2 threes. I mean, I don't know how many threes they made in the first 6 minutes of the game, but they are so complete is basically when you look at this Connecticut team. They can beat you in the post. They can beat you with the three. They can beat you off the dribble. They can beat you with their ball movement and people movement. And then they are just so hard to score against at the rim that I think Dan Hurley put it best. They just wear you down. They just wear you down. The guy he has no problem playing 9 guys. And he played like 9 guys in the first 8 minutes of the game.
Well, and to your point before the game about the matchup of Andre Jackson Jr. going against Isaiah Wong. Andre Jackson picks up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes. He goes out for the rest of the half. And I thought Naheem Aline coming into the game and going on to Wong, Joey Calcaterra guarded him a little bit. And then Alex Caravan, for the second game in a row, knocks down a big 3. Like, that was a huge deal. UConn, at the end of the half, gets a 2-for-1. They've got the arrow to start the second half. They scored the first possession of the second half to put some real distance between them and Miami. But the depth that they showed, and Caravan having 9 rebounds, keeping the ball alive, they've just got an answer for everything.
Jay, one of the weaknesses coming into the season for them that we pointed out would be point guard play. Tristan Newton, 2 triple-doubles on the season, and I thought he was terrific managing the game tonight. Because remember, when they go to their bench, Miami, all of a sudden they have a ball-hawking guard, and I thought he did a great job of making really good decisions. Only 7 points is all they needed, but he had 8 assists in this game. I thought he was a huge factor in settling their offensive flow.
And I thought Danny was really poised because every time Miami made a run, he just stayed with it. You watch players coming on and off the court. He was empowering them. He was beside them. Every single time out, he greeted those guys. We are fine. Stay with it. Let's get to the next play, good or bad. And that's something that you see the growth of Dan Hurley as a leader.
Agreed.
In the manner in which he carried himself throughout that game.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.